Welcome. My name is Jason Davis, and this is Empower Volusia Common Sense. And we're coming to you from an undisclosed location hidden in an iron bunker on the western highlands of Volusia County, Florida. And we are guarded by 2 rabid Pomeranians and 1 crazy cat. And the crazy cat's had a few extra friends running around here lately, so there we go. Anyways, today's date, and we're going to get right into this today. It's 10/9/2020. That's right, 10/9/2020. And, well, let's be realistic. The craziness never seems to end up in Washington, D.C.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Because, you know, folks, here it is. Nancy Pelosi this morning at 11:47 a.m. has thrown her support behind legislation that would establish a panel of experts and former executive branch officials to determine whether a president lacks the mental or physical capacity to carry out the job. The bill is sponsored by Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland, a Democrat, and it would shore up a process established under the 25th Amendment by which the vice president can assume control of the presidency if the president becomes incapacitated or is unable to perform the duties of his office. It is highly unlikely the measure will become law. And that is from Kyle Cheney and Sarah Ferris, and that's from Politico. On the web this morning, you can go there, and I'm not, they don't pay me to do this, but I'm going to let you know where to go. It's politico.com news, or that's /news/2020/10/9/Nancy Pelosi, and you can go from there. So there you go. Really. How ridiculous. Well, and I'm going to say this. There were a couple of presidents. One was Woodrow Wilson. He suffered a severe stroke, and he was in office from 1915 to 1921. And he was trying to get, like the pre-United Nations kind of thing going, but that didn't work out. But anyways, after the president suffered a severe stroke, his wife, Edith Bowling Galt Wilson, she pre-screened all matters of state, functionally running the executive branch of government for the remainder of Wilson's second term. He served 2 terms in his office, and that's what she did. Now, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was in office, he, of course, he had polio. We all know that, and he was, in the latter years, he was, remanded to a wheelchair, and his wife also did the same thing. She screened, and which is very funny because that's it's kind of a violation of the Constitution. The Article 2 of the Constitution says the president will pick, or the vice president will pick up if the president can't do his job for whatever reason. But that apparently wasn't good enough. So Congress passed on July 6th, 1965, and ratified by February 10th, 1967, the 25th Amendment. Now, the 25th Amendment is it's an interesting addition to the Constitution, and that's what it is. It is, well, it's in 4 sections. Now, you have to understand, in constitutional law, each section is a law unto itself. Okay? For example, in case of the removal of the president from office or of his death or resignation, the vice president shall become president. That's the law. Now, Section 2 is another law. It's a different law. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress. Now, you got to remember also, and it's explained, it says it right there. The House of Representatives and the Senate are the Congress. Let me make that perfectly clear. The Senate and the House of Representatives together are Congress. Not just the Senate, and definitely not just the House of Representatives. So, and then that's explained right there. So now we're going on to Section 3. Whenever the President transmits to the President pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that he is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, and until he transmits to them in written declarification of the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the Vice President as acting President. Now, translation to normal English. These are all written in legalese. Luckily for you, I've been in government as an elected official, and I can read and translate legalese. Basically, what this says is the president says, I am going to be out of commission for a couple of weeks. I'm having, in the case of Ronald Reagan, Ronald Reagan had colon cancer removed. He was going to be out of commission. He wrote to the president pro tem of the Senate, which is the majority leader, and to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, his declaration that he was going to be out of the picture for a little bit. And then at that point, George Bush picked up the duties of the president as the vice president. When Ronald Reagan was healed and released by his doctor, he came back and he wrote a letter and says, I'm back. Thanks for all the help. Boom. And he was the president again. So there you go. So that was the president taking himself out of the office for a very short period of time and bringing himself back in. Now, the wonderful... I can't say it. I'm sorry. I'm just my brain won't say that. Let me just, I don't know, play this one here.
Mama says stupid as stupid does.
That's right, because this is the real text here of the 25th Amendment, Section 4. It's a lengthy one, but the crazy lady from California, I'm just going to call her the crazy lady from California, she actually needs to read. Maybe she needs to go back to school to learn to read again or something, because she's omitted a great deal of information. Okay? So here's Section 4 of the 25th Amendment. Okay? Whenever the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments, there you go. That means, comma, here I'm going to now explain that. That's the Vice President and the directors of all the executive branch departments, which is Department of Defense, Department of Social Security, Department of the IRS, Department of Veterans Affairs, all these bureaucratic organizations. The department heads must, and it must be a majority of them, and the vice president. It says, and the vice president. Very key words here. So the president and all the vice president and a majority of the 60, 70 different bureaus that we have here, FBI, CIA, all those guys, director heads, have to all agree and say the president is incapable of doing his job, okay? Or of such other body as Congress may by law provide. There's that other word. Or of such other body as Congress may by law provide. That's what this whole thing is today. Nancy Pelosi is trying to run roughshod over the Constitution because there is, by the way, there's also a rule in the legislative branch that says there can be no ex post facto law. I mean, they're not making a law, but they're trying to create a commission to get rid of President Trump. Anything to get rid of this? They all have Trump derangement syndrome.
There you go again.
Absolutely. There they go again, trying to get rid of the president. They couldn't impeach him because he's not impeachable. They're trying to get him for some sort of financial whatever. They can't get that done because, as he said to anybody and everybody who's listening here, and you can pass this on to your liberal friends, even though their heads may explode after 10 minutes, but go ahead and pass this on to the liberals, that if you want to know how much money President Donald J. Trump paid in 2016, you look at his financial reports, which is available to anybody and everybody on the internet, and his financial reports for the campaign, because you have to put it in there. What you own, what you sell, what you've earned as income, what you've paid as income tax, it's all there. Of course, it's several hundred pages long because Donald J. Trump owns a lot. He owns the corporation owns a lot. So, but anyways, digressing, back to here we are. So now the Congress is trying to create this body, this commission, through the law, which they have to do. They can't just say, well, we're going to create a commission and we're going to put all our Democrat friends on it and that'll get rid of it. And that's pretty much what they were thinking of doing, apparently. But somebody actually sat down and said, well, let's double check that. Let's look at that for a minute. And they did. And here we are. Or, big word, two little letters which mean a whole bunch. Or of such other body as Congress may by law provide. And now they're going through the law part. It will pass through the House of Representatives. Oh, yes, because they have a majority. It will hit the Senate and be dead on arrival. And I'm sure the President of the United States will not sign it. And that's why there has not been such a commission created. See, the writers of our Constitution, back in the 1700s, and even up till this was done in 1965, the writers of our amendments to the Constitution and of all the amendments felt that people were inherently honest and we were trustworthy and we would do the best that we could do for our fellow citizens of our nation. Little did they know that in the future this other little thing would come up and basically dominate all of our politicians, save one or two, but dominate the House of Representatives and Senators' minds. This one evil will come up, and it's... Anyways, so after they create this thing, that body will transmit to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting President. There's that term again, acting President. Because now the next paragraph comes into play. Therefore, when the President transmits to the President pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office unless the Vice President and the majority of either of the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit within 4 days to the President pro tempore and the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers or the duties of his office. Therefore, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for that purpose, if not in session, and if the Congress within 21 days after receipt of the latter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble. That's because in those days, Congress wasn't there most of the time. They were at home doing whatever they were doing. But anyways, they determined by 2/3 vote of both houses that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The Vice President shall continue to discharge the same as acting President. Otherwise, the President shall resume the powers and duties of his office. Okay. In other words, once they declare the President is incapable of doing his duties, all the President has to do is say, what are you talking about? and go back, write a letter, and get his job back, pretty much. It's the easiest reemployment. 21 days. But, 21 days is a little bit of a time. So, but anyways, and why does Nancy Pelosi want to do this to the President of the United States is the question. Well, we might have the answer. The reason that Nancy Pelosi is trying to invoke the 25th Amendment for physical or mental incapacitation of the President of the United States is because she did what is commonly called, well, it's not commonly called. Somebody wrote about it once, and I was like, that's a good term, and I'm going to use this term again. It's called truthification. She tried to do truthification, and she told everybody she was doing it. She said, oh, yes, we know that he's on dexamethasone, which is an anabolic steroid. And she says, oh, yes, we know that steroids can cause mental incapacitation. Okay. Well, let's see. So if you type on dexamethasone or route, because he did take a pill. It's not taking it still. He was treated with it. Now it's over with. And if anybody who's ever taken an anabolic steroid, you know that once you take a steroid, it doesn't stay in your body forever. It actually dissipates quite quickly. But anyways, here is your side effects. Okay, aggression. Donald Trump being aggressive? No way. Agitation. You're saying he's more agitated? No. Anxiety, blurred vision, decrease in urine, dizziness, fast, slow pounding or irregular heartbeat or pulse, headache, irritability. That's just Nancy Pelosi. She causes that. Mental depression. My gosh, not with him. Mood changes. Nope, same guy. Nervousness. Nope. Noisy, rattling breathing. Nope. Numbness in fingers, arms, or legs. Nope. Pounding in his ears. Nope. Swelling in the fingers, hands, feet, or lower legs. Nope. Trouble thinking, speaking, or walking. No, I don't think so. Trouble breathing at rest. Nope. Weight gain. Okay. Now, there is another list here. Now, this says incidents not known. And when you go down, some effects, here we go. Some side effects may occur that usually do not need medical attention. These side effects may go away during treatment as your body adjusts to the medicine. Also, your healthcare professional may be able to tell you about ways to prevent or reduce some of these side effects. Check with your local healthcare professional if any of the side effects continue or are bothersome, or if you have any questions about them. Okay, so there is, I'm looking here, mental incapacitation. I'm looking for some sort of something in here. Let me see. I'm looking. No. Increased thirst. No. Menstrual irregularities. No, that's not him. There is nothing here that says mental incapacitation. There's nothing that says, inability to function as a human being. Okay? So, my point is this. She put it out, and some of the other talking heads, or pontiffs, if you will, put it out that one of the side effects of this dexamethasone is mental incapacitation. And they put it out, and the media picked it up. And a couple other people, the writers or the lamestream media, as I like to call them, or whatever you want to call these guys, they picked up what they said. And they said, oh, really, that's part of it. And they wrote it. And so it went down through the media chain, through the 24-second media cycle. And it came back, and then people in Congress started talking about it because they read it in the newspaper. And Nancy Pelosi, once again, using the truthification method of passing bad information, said, see, the media is talking about this. It must be true. It must be. But the truth of the matter is, it's not one of the side effects of dexamethasone.
You can't handle the truth!
That's right, Nancy, you can't. And neither can most of the Democrats. And that seems to be our problem of late, is, to be quite honest with you, and I don't care what the Rasmussen poll says, CNN poll, NBC, MSNBC, you know what, I take a poll. And when I take a poll, see, it's not so much you ask a question, it's the way you ask the question. It's like the old question that are you still beating your spouse? Well, no, I don't. Oh, you're not beating her anymore. You used to. Are you still taking drugs? I don't take drugs. But you're not still taking drugs? It's the way you ask a question. It happens on our ballots all the time. You know, if you vote yes, you're against it. If you vote no, you're for it. It's just the wording, and that's true. So I take my little opinion polls very, shall we say, scientifically. I don't know if it's scientific, but it's just as scientific as any other opinion poll. Mine is the drive-by polling. And what do I mean by the drive-by polling? Here's how I drive by and do my polling. I get in my vehicle, and I take 4 or 5 days that I know, okay, I've got to go to here and to here and to here, to different 4 or 5. I know in a week if I'm going to have to go to this store, this place, or go talk to these people or that people. And what I generally do is, as I go along, I have a little notepad split down the middle. On the left side says Trump, and it should be on the right side, but it's closer to me because I'm right-handed. So on the left side of the paper, it says Trump. On the right side, it says Biden. And I drive down the road. And as I'm driving down the road, I'm looking at yards. I'm looking around. And for every house that I see a Trump sign in, I put a mark, 1. And for every house I see a Biden sign in, I put a 1. I do not count street corners because they get over inundated. I do not count street, signs just on the side of the street because people can put them up. They have to be in a yard. There's some scientific thinking. They have to be in a yard or at a driveway. And, they have to be somebody's property, not just on the side of the street up and down the highway. So, yes, there is some scientific thought. And I know not everybody has a Trump or a Biden sign in their yard, but I count the ones that are there. This gives us a general, probably a more specific or more accurate count of how our candidates are doing. Because if they're doing so well in getting their point across, and they have such great undying support from their followers, there will be campaign signs on these people's yards. They will be proud, yes, proud as I am, to wave their signs or flags. Rasmussen, MSNBC, CNN, Gallup, whoever you are, your numbers are wrong. There is and I have actually counted it, and I've counted in 4 days, over 365 signs of the two candidates collectively. You can do the simple math if you want to, but the number is 73.5% of all of these campaign signs are Donald Trump. 73.5% are Donald Trump. I don't see any Joe Biden signs that much. I see very few of them here and there. But as I said, if that is a true fact of the way, and this is not just one county. I travel around 3-4 counties in a week. I live in Volusia, in the upper western highlands of Volusia County, Florida. But I also go to Orange County, and I go to Seminole County. I just took a friend of mine down to the airport. I went one way to go to the airport. And when I came back from taking him to the airport, I came back a different way. Still counting. different addresses with different signs. Now, there was an increase in some signs in certain counties. A few Biden signs, a few more people, but for the general average overall, 73.5% of all the signs I see are Donald Trump. I'm sorry, folks. If you are not a supporter of Donald Trump, well...
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
You're going to have Trump derangement syndrome again. That's right, because November 3rd, when you see the numbers coming through and Donald Trump picks up, I honestly, if my numbers are right, if what I see, and this is just my observations, folks, and if I see that, then there is hope for this country. And I hope that the Republicans win the House of Representatives. And the very simple reason is because we're tired. We, the American people, are tired of the ridiculous hate Trump garbage going on in our government when Nancy Pelosi will not sit to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal for the bailout for the American people. See, state and federal governments, they have their own tax base. We should not be paying a dime to the cities and the states that are having problems because they can't police or they're getting rid of their police. We need to keep the American people who are in need, that need help to get through this time. Nancy, you blocking the stimulus package for the American people should basically make you ineligible to be a representative of the state of California. Goodness sakes, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing I can hope for, the only thing that we can hope for is that maybe the state of California over there in San Francisco, maybe those voters will not support Nancy Pelosi and maybe, I don't know, use maybe a little common sense.